Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ola main event for 2020. This is exciting time to have Patty Arvielo doing this main event for us and talking about the Hispanic community in this Hispanic Heritage Month and giving us some advice of, her career and how she's been able to, come to the top of one of the independent mortgage lenders in the space, and looking forward to this great event. But first, I really want to thank all the volunteers and everyone in the core leadership team of Ola. This has been a great year for the Ola community. I think given all the difficult times that we've had with COVID and social unrest in our country, I think it's important for us to celebrate also the accomplishments that we've had throughout 2020. So it's for us, it's really coming out of these times, and hopefully, like we did, we talked about in one events that we had earlier in the year, coming out of stronger out of these times. It's a key as we're gonna be close to each other, hopefully in early 2021, be able to be together and then make more exciting events happen for the OLA community and hopefully bring each other up. So with that, I'm gonna pass it along to Carolina, who's gonna talk about this great event. And thank you, Carolina, for putting this together.
Thank you, Christian. Good afternoon, dear Freddie Macers and OLA members. Welcome to our keynote event this year to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. My name is Carolina Valderrama, and I am the Embrace Pillar Lead within the OLA BRG. It is my pleasure to introduce my mentor, a lady who has inspired me in so many ways. I met Patty a few years ago at a NAREP convention, and I was so motivated by her leadership style, personality, and her contributions to the housing industry in the United States for almost 40 years of her life. Yes, passionate, dynamic, energetic, persistent, determined. This is Patty, just to name a few of her traits. Patty is a Mexican American from Los Angeles, California. In 2003, Patty and her husband, Rick Arvielo, founded New American Funding, a national mortgage lender and servicer that funds, listen to this, more than $1 billion in home loans every month. So Patty loves to serve and help people achieve home ownership, especially minorities such as Latinos and African Americans. She has served on several boards of directors, councils, and committees, and is the recipient of many accolades and recognitions for her professional achievements, most recently recognized as one of the HousingWire's 2020 Women of Influence. Patty will speak today about her journey and challenges she faced in becoming a successful Latina entrepreneur in the mortgage industry and how she overcame those challenges. She will share those special characteristics that helped her advance in her career. There will be an opportunity for Q&A at the end, so be prepared to ask your questions. But now, let's all thrive and lead with the #1 owned independent mortgage lender, Patty Arvielo.
Right? It's very hard for me to take compliments even now. Estás bonita. Oh, no, I'm not. Cállate, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about my biggest struggle, which has been me, my self-confidence and who I represent in this country and not being able to see myself, right, in leadership roles. So hola, today we're going to talk about how I advanced. We're going to talk about advancement. We're going to talk a little bit about Freddie Mac's mindsets from a Latina perspective and how I read them and how I instill them in my business every single day. But first, I'll kind of tell you about my short 39 years in the mortgage industry. Yes, I started when I was 10. No, just joking, 16. So I fell into the industry because everyone falls into the mortgage industry because nobody really actually knows about the mortgage industry. And I was groomed as a girl that was supposed to get married and be the mother and maybe take over the housekeeping business that my mom started. But I saw more as a very young girl. So I'm going to start with what a lot of us know dear to our hearts is a story about my nana. Because it was in my nana that I saw my leadership, is because when I was very young and I was the oldest grandchild, my nana had 5 daughters, no sons. And so she was a powerful woman, a matriarch. My grandfather left her with 5 little girls in Sinaloa, Mazatlan. That wasn't a good thing, but he left her. So she was a single mother from the time the girls were very young. So my mentor was my nana, right? I only saw women as being strong and resourceful. So when I was young, I remember I was in my tia's kitchen and my nana dije, you know, you, mija, you're going to be the one who's going to buy me a house. And I was like 6. And I think it was because I was already being kind of bossy, right? Those are terms that we're called when we're female, but bossy. And también coda, like cheap. My nana used to tell me I was super cheap because anytime I would get money or maybe earn a little money, I would hide it and never lend it out, like ever. And look at me now. I'm lending billions of dollars of money out every month. So against the grain of my DNA. But it was in my nana that I saw a leader, and it was in my nana that I saw my strength. And then that was as a young child, right? So I just kind of always thought I was bossy. But then I would drive down to Tijuana because that's where my nana lived. And as a little girl, that's where we spent many, many days of being young because my mother was 19 when she married my dad. So she was an immigrant here. So she didn't really have any girlfriends. She didn't go to school here. So every weekend she would take me down to Tijuana where our family was. So I grew up seeing the difference between what it meant to be in the US versus what it meant to be living in Tijuana in a house with no toilet in the house, right? So I very, very young saw the difference of what my visions would be. Like I would drive down this freeway where you would see these mansions and I would be in those days in the back of a truck with a blanket because it wasn't illegal not to have a seatbelt on. That's how old I am. So my mom would put us in the back of the truck with a blanket, we drive, but every time I would drive by these really big fat houses, I would look at them, right? So these are my early on visions of what I thought I could have young. So those visions are what then turned into my dreams, what eventually then turned into my goals. So it's just little fundamental things in my life that I found today when I look back at who I was or who I am today is really ingrained from seeing and believing. So that's why it's so important for me as a Latina to speak to all of you, because that way you can see yourselves in me. And that's what I hope for, is that we can resonate together and knowing that, yes, we are here running big companies. We will fund $33 billion in business this year. We are the largest woman-owned mortgage company in the country and the number one, obviously, Latina-owned mortgage company in the country. And I wear that very proud because I did not feel at this time that I would be where I stand today. So I want to talk a little bit about my journey in this industry. Obviously, when I was 16, I found a job only because it paid me the most per hour. Because I figured if I'm going to go to work, I'm going to make the most money I can make per hour. So I fell into the mortgage industry and I input bad credit ratings on mortgage credit reports. Very soon after that, the girls calling in or the young men calling in for these credit reports, I was like, hey, why are you calling? Why do you even need these credit reports? And they said, because we do mortgage loans. And I said, oh, what's that? What's the name of your job? Oh, I'm a loan opener. So back in the day, I went to my Sunday paper because that's where you used to find employment. And I sat there and I looked for loan opener positions because I knew they made more than me. So it's that constant rising that this country, that gives us the opportunity here. Is there's a ladder, right? And there's a rung. And I started my early rung, and by seeing that there were more opportunities for me in advancement on what I could make per hour back then by taking different steps to move up in the industry. So obviously I was only 16. By the time I was 19, I've already figured out that the people making the most money in the mortgage industry were the people who sold the loan. So I got a box of cards and I went out and started asking realtors for loans. I didn't even really know how to do a loan. Again, you don't have to know everything, right? To take a step forward or to go on a path. There is risk there. It was scary for me. I was 19, running around a little girl asking a bunch of men back then for mortgage loans. It took about a year. Finally, some guy said, oh, here's a turn down. See if you can do this loan. So I ran back to the office. I said, okay, now what do? I have a loan? Because back then it was all paper. And I still, again, didn't really know what I was doing. So I self-taught myself the industry. So I'm going to take you advanced because 39 years is a long story, right? So I had been making really good money from the time I was about 20 to 24. Of course, my mom thought, oh, great, yes, millionaria, right? So that was the whole thing. The oldest kid, she wasn't gonna have to worry about me, but I still saw more. I saw advancement because I always look up. I'm always looking for mentors, for people that are doing better than I am, for maybe people that are more successful than I am. That's why mentorship is so key. So I was, had a girlfriend that worked at a Countrywide. Maybe some of you recognize that name, but early on, Countrywide, right before it became Countrywide. But Countrywide was my college because I want to tell you, I didn't go to college. And my girlfriend was there and I was already making a lot of money, but I knew that this company was going to offer me opportunities that I never dreamt of because I was watching her succeeding in this company and kind of slowly thinking to myself, well, I think I'm a little better than her because I kind of knew her very well. And I was much more aggressive in business. So I took a step down. I'll give you an example. I was making really good money. I took a job that was paid me $2,000 a month to be a loan processor. Loan processors today make about $150,000 a year, right? I took a salary, $2,000 a month to get my foot in the door. So sometimes we have to take a couple steps down to get the opportunity that we want to rise within organizations or in entrepreneurship. So remember, it's not always moving up. Sometimes you have to take a couple steps back. I took that role that was well below my skill set, and within 1 year, the branch was mine. I was the youngest branch manager and the most successful in the country for Angelo Mazzillo at 25 years old. And I already had a baby at home and one on the way porque soy Latina, right? So I'm like working, I have 2 babies at home, and rose in that company very, very quickly with only male mentors. There were no females, and especially no Latinos or Latinas at Countrywide, right? I didn't have anybody really to look up to except for successful males. So hence sometimes in business, I'm labeled like male-like, which I carry as a badge. So I really, took my step back, rose, had babies, and then my whole world came crashing apart because what I thought was the reality of my personal life, and this is a lot of experience in your 20s, is that I got married, you have the piece of paper, I'm Latina, I'm supposed to be married forever. Well, my husband didn't agree and he left me with 2 babies. And so there was my biggest wow, right? Everything I had earned from the 10 years that I was working, the 10 years I was with him had it quickly went away. My biggest strength is that I failed very early. And I'm going to tell you why I failed. I wasn't necessarily failing in business, but I was failing in my personal life by not taking care of what I think is a prized possession, and that is our family and our relationships. I thought because I had this piece of paper, I went to work all the time, I made good money, the relationship was just supposed to work. So I talk a lot about business because business is one thing, but nothing will beat family. And we're all kind of in that same mindset, right? Family's first. I neglected my family. And so I was very young and I failed in my marriage. So I found myself at 30 without a job because in order to try to save my marriage, I said, oh, I must be because I work too much. And so I quit that very successful job to be a stay-at-home mom, which lasted like a couple of months. It's not really for me. And so there was my biggest failure. I lost everything. You have to realize I had 6, 7 houses. I had, really nice fancy cars, and I legit lost everything. But that would come to be my biggest strength. And that would be the thing that pivoted my career because I always worked for then a paycheck. And that would be to begin my journey as an entrepreneur, which was scary and really not something I thought I could do in building a company. It was when I met my now business partner, my now husband, that he saw in me what I didn't even see in myself. He goes, you've been doing this longer. I was 31 and I already been doing it like 14 years, right? He goes, there's nobody at your age, Patty, that knows what you know. We can build a company together. And so there hence started the kind of beginning of what now is one of the largest mortgage lenders in the country. But again, it wasn't me. It was what I saw, what somebody else saw in me was my determination, my skill set, and my knowledge in the mortgage industry. So there it started as Rick and I started New American Funding together. We actually ran this company as boyfriend and girlfriend for 9 years because I obviously make mistakes once. So bad marriage, I was like, oh, I'm never going to do that again, right? So 9 years we ran this company as boyfriend and girlfriend. And really that was the beginning of me learning how to take risks and how to be comfortable with me. So early on in starting New American Funding, I thought, it started to grow and I'm like, oh, what is this? I must just be lucky, right? I'm very lucky. But I never once thought I was good. Never once. And gosh, I wish that I had that confidence well before, because now I'm 55 and the only great thing about getting older is the self-confidence is very rich, right? I work on it every day, but boy, I wish that when I speak to young people that you learn right away about who you are and your strengths at a young age. So I sat at my desk as my company was growing. I'm sitting there going, wow, I must be lucky. But then one day I said, I must be good. And I was really only like, maybe I was early 40s. So we started to grow the company, which then we had 100 maybe employees. We are now 4,200 employees. And I've learned a lot of things about business. But most of all, what I've learned is that working on myself on a daily is essential. So, and when people ask me, has it been an issue you being Latina in business? No. Can I tell you right now that is my biggest strength? My biggest strength in running this company is being who I am culturally. I'm very committed. I'm very loyal. I'm exuberant, the Latina. And so I think that my strength in relationships and leading people have been because of my cultural upbringing. So I want to talk a little bit today, not just about the power of being who we are in our organizations and never letting, no matter if we have an accent or maybe we think we're going to be in a meeting and say the wrong word, just say it, right? Because I always say it's better to speak 2 languages half good, right? And then speaking one great. So my strength has been that I'm very comfortable in saying the wrong thing. And I know that a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we may feel that other people aren't hearing us. So that's kind of where I wanted to talk a little bit too about, I read the Freddie Mac mindsets and I'm like, wow, I think like a Latina. So I'm going to tell you how I feel about the Freddie Mac mindsets, which I think are all great. But let me tell you when I read things, how I see myself in them. So communicate with candor, right? So this is how I see it from my perspective. As Latinos, this is something that we should demand, right? Is that when we are speaking and people are speaking to us, that we have the freedom from bias, meaning that I will tell you that a lot of times in the media, we are portrayed as good as their gardeners and housekeepers, but all the time, the bias in our country is that we all come from the drug cartel in Sinaloa. No, it's the perception, the bias, right? So that to me is something that we should expect and something that we should give. Is communicating with candor means that we should expect it in return as well. And so I think the value of Latinos right now in an organization just like yourselves is the value of us speaking up and teaching them. Because let me tell you, the power of being Latinx, that's the new one, right? I've said Hispanic, Latina, Latino, Latinx. So, but the power today, this is our time. Like, this is our time. Every company wants to know how to tap in to us. So hold this as a badge of honor. So innovate, okay? This is number 2, right? Innovate. So I'm going to read you Steve Jobs' quote. Innovation distinguishes between a leader or a follower. I will tell you that I'm in constant innovation mode, because if I'm not, I'm going to be out of business. Because there are several companies coming into our space that are fintech or tech, or they're funded by fintech. You know, I don't even know what fintech is. But if I stay complacent in my day-to-day and I think, oh, look at this great company I built, this is good enough, I will be wiped out. So innovation is key. Every single day you go to work to do your job, I'm telling you, there's a better way to do it. Even if you're at the top of your game and you think, oh, I'm doing this report and it's the best, someone's going to do it better. So it might as well be you. Okay? Innovation, alive, not innovating, dead. So, okay. Engage inclusively. So this is where I said that you should wear being Latinx, Latino, Hispanic, whatever word resonates with you, as a badge of honor. As that your voice, you cannot pay enough money for what you bring to the table. That any company that doesn't have a cultural engagement with our culture will be out of business. In California already, there are more Latinos than non-Latinos. And California is one of the most powerful economies in the world as one state, okay? The entire country demographics are changing. I don't care what the media looks like. I don't care what the TV looks like. We're not represented. I get that. But we're here in this country and we're powerful. And so any company will value us. Obviously, look at Ola, right? Look at the platform they allow you to have within this giant organization. When I used to hear about Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, I thought Fannie was a girl and Freddie was a guy. Oh no. Can you hear me? I don't know what happened to my screen.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you guys, and I can't see you. So that's okay. Talking into a blank screen, talk about feeling funny. There you are, I see you. So, yeah, just wearing it as a badge of honor and bringing your cultural power to the table. And the powerful thing about Latinx or Latinos in this country is, I'm going to give you the secret sauce, is this is what people don't understand. We unite as one group, but we come from many different countries. We ate many different types of foods. My version of Spanish or Spanglish may not be the same version of from somebody from Cuba, right? But we unite as one powerful group, and that is the power that the organizations, I know Freddie Mac knows the power, but a lot of organizations don't. So where does a badge of honor? Engage inclusively means that. Deliver results. So this is where, of course, work hard, right, and deliver results, like duh. So, but let me tell you what deliver results really means from somebody who's watching down and looking for people to rise in the organization. When I see somebody delivering results, they even know how to tell me how they delivered the results. If somebody asks you, how good did you do your job today? Can you even answer that question? So really knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, because we all have them, is really, really important. So to deliver results means not to go to work and work on things that maybe you're really not that good at just to get the job done. Your organization needs to know what your strengths is and what you bring to the table. So delivering results, you can't do this if you don't know yourself. There are many things you can do to test your strengths and your weaknesses. There's actually a book called Strength Finders. And I highly, highly suggest that everyone do it, because sometimes, I'm really not, there's a lot of things I'm not good at. Like, I'm really not good at numbers. And yes, I own a mortgage company, but I am not good at math and I'm not good at numbers. But my number one trait is called woo, win others over. So when you're in my business, I am now in the people business because I lead people, I lead salespeople. So every day my strengths are being utilized in this company, where Rick is a math genius. And that's why he handles capital markets and everything, because I have no clue. So that's something that I feel ashamed of, because maybe I'm not as good as one thing as the other. No, I feel proud that I know. Because when somebody asks me, and everybody asks me to be the chair of finance on every board that I'm at, I'm like, yeah, that's just you looking at me thinking that's my strength. It's not. So people may look at you, but only you know what you bring to the table. So delivering results comes from here, from utilizing your strengths and contributing to your organization on where you will provide more impact. So those are kind of just the things that I've learned in my business, and kind of a fast version of who I am. But I will tell you that the impact that all of us are bringing to this country has never been more powerful, right? When I was young in business, no one ever talked about the power of the Latino market or the power of being Hispanic. I mean, I remember my first success was in 1994. There wasn't any business. And I thought, well, I speak pretty good Spanish. I'm going to start hitting up, Hispanic realtors. And that became my journey to where I am today now, as one of the largest lenders in America, giving loans to Latinos across the country by percentage. But it started as my passion, but it's the opportunity, but no one talked about it. I really want to tell you, this has been the last couple of years is really where I'm finding that organizations are realizing the power that we, in our perspectives from where we come from, is so important in our organizations. But when I grew up, nobody talked about it. In fact, the reason why I don't have an accent, because my mom talks like this. My name is Betty. But the reason I don't talk with an accent is because when I was born, it was looked poorly on. Now it's not. Being bilingual is like super cool. And being bilingual in this country is very, very important. So I was discriminated against. My mother was discriminated against for having an accent. But today it does occur, but it is our power. It's in our strength. So I just wanted to yes, it is. So I just kind of wanted to leave you guys today with a couple of things. That yes, number one, there are a lot of powerful Latinos in this country running big companies. We have more opportunity today than I've ever seen, and I've been doing this 39 years. We have advancements within our organizations if we ask for them. So I'm mostly speaking to the Latinas, because we have this thing about not speaking up, because our moms, when we grew up, are like, no, guys, but we have to speak up. We have to lean into the conversations. We have to know our worth and our value, right? I will tell everybody in every organization, know what you're worth to the penny. Research what other companies pay for your very same position. Know your value, right? Because why go to work to earn menos? We need to go to work to make impact in our family. I will say that it's very important to become very financially free, because in being financially free is our power. I am the matriarch of our family now since my nana passed. I remember in the mortgage meltdown when I thought everybody was going out of business, I thought, all I care, God, please leave me with enough money so I can take care of my family. That is something that's ingrained in all of us. Is one trait, one very powerful trait that we all share as our family. So know your value, know what wealth means to you. Not what social media tells us what wealth means, right? What does wealth mean to you? Have a number, have a goal. Remember, I kind of told you when I was a little kid, I saw those big houses, my vision then became my dream, then became my goal. I have one of those houses now. So goals, everybody talks about it, but loosely. I'm a huge believer of writing them down. I'm a huge believer, whatever the goal may be. Because if you don't write it down, you're kind of working and waking up day to day, especially during COVID when we are stuck at home. You have a lot more time to think. Make impact every day and move something forward to achieve that goal. Whatever it is, financial freedom, a better school for your kids, it doesn't matter. It's because our definitions of what wealthy means or what financially free means is in here, right? We all have our own story. Seek mentorship, right? Seek mentorship in your organization. And I don't look for mentors that I think are equal or below me. I look for somebody I feel like is more powerful than me, that's going to make me feel uncomfortable, that I can emulate. That's why mentorship is so important. And you can see them, and you don't need to know the person to be their mentor. You don't have to know them. I know one of mine, right? I look up like to Oprah. I don't know Oprah. I met her, but I don't know her. But you see, I watch how she interacts. I watch her engagement. So I think it's really important. And just really, I mean, this is an unprecedented time, COVID, right? Pandemic, something none of us felt like it was almost unthinkable. But there are a lot of good things that have come through this. And the one common thing is that we're all going through it together. There isn't one person in the world that is not going through or doesn't fear getting COVID, right? We're all in this together. But it will be the strong that will rise, and it'll be the people that will take the opportunities to spend more quality time with their family, because that's been one thing. Right now, a lot of us are school teachers now, and trying to do our jobs on top. And I'm talking men too. Men probably have been really, their world has been turned upside down because they've been getting up and going to work all these years, and now they're stuck at home with the kids. So this is value that we're never going to be able to get back from this very, very crazy time called COVID. So I'll kind of end from there and answer some questions for you guys. I like more engagement. I wish I was with you instead of on some screen looking at myself.
Thank you so much, Patty. Please, all of our participants, ask any questions. We want this to be a very natural conversation with Patty, just like she just showed all of us. While Berenice is looking at the chat box for questions, I am going to ask you this. You mentioned it's very important to be financially free.
Yes.
So what advice can you give us to achieve that financial freedom?
Right. So having a plan, I mean, really writing down every penny, maybe even just for a month, of what you spend, right? My biggest goal was always to have more saved than what I spend. Realizing that, that sometimes, I mean, I shop at TJ Maxx, sometimes I shop at Nordstrom's. That's the goal, right? So I really think that people don't even realize down to the penny what they're spending every day on things they don't really need. So becoming financially free is being able to have a visibility of what it takes for you to live without worrying every single month. And so sometimes we want to attain goals or certain cars or whatever. None of that is important. In fact, any car that I've ever had in my entire life becomes old within 30 days. It doesn't matter. Those people living in big houses, it becomes the same four walls as we all live in. It's the same. It's this human thing. Social media has even made it worse, right? We all think everybody's lives are so much better than ours. That's why you have to bring it into perspective and write down a plan. And it should be done either if you're married or if you're alone. It should be done the sooner the better. Because if you go to work every day and you're making money, what's your goal? Financially free should be a goal. It doesn't make you happy, but it does give you freedom.
Someone asked what are some ways to volunteer that you recommend? They said, I am interested in the Latinx community work. Thank you.
Okay, so I actually sit on the executive board of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and there's chapters across the country. It's one of the oldest organizations in the United States of America. And a large percentage of the children we serve are from the Latinx community. So becoming a mentor to them changed lives. The statistics are unreal. We have kids that their fathers are incarcerated or mothers have left, and we have a 98% high school graduation rate when these children have mentors. Your value to them is priceless. And if you're not from the Latinx community, you want to know and become part of our club, which everybody does once they know about us, right? And how we engage as a culture, this is a good way to learn, is through mentorship with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Awesome, thank you.
And we need men. We need men. A lot of men. We have there are 0 girls on my list in Orange County, but we have 500 young boys because the men feel like uncomfortable to be mentors. We need men, and most of all, Latino men is super important. We need to be able to see ourselves.
Awesome. And our next question is, what advice would you offer to begin having conversations with young people of future home ownership and forward thinking about owning homes at some point in their lives?
Right. So the desire to own a home in this country from our community is stronger than any demographic in this country. So the dream, like I said, my nana said at 6, you're the one who's going to buy me a home. And really, my biggest regret is that I didn't get time to buy her the home, which I could totally do. So, that desire is strong. The biggest thing I think is getting pre-qualified, right? Calling someone like us and knowing, again, having the plan. Maybe you would be very, very surprised on how many people I tell them to do that and they qualify already. So again, having that plan. And then when you get pre-qualified, it's not a bad thing if you don't qualify today. In fact, these loan officers are trained to give you the steps. You need to fix your FICO. You need to save more money, or maybe you should look at a community program, because there's a lot of community programs that offer the down payment. Just really asking the question. So getting pre-qualified, the earlier, the better. Like, what does it take for me to own this home? The other great thing about COVID, a silver lining is that none of us have to live in high cost cities anymore, right? We can move to lower cost communities where we can now own homes because we can work virtually. So that we have a lot more options today than we've ever had.
Yeah, I agree. I should probably tell my mom that since I can remember she's been talking about wanting to own a home, so maybe it's about that time.
To get pre-qualified.
Alrighty. Our next question says, where do you see the biggest innovations impacting our community in the industry?
Biggest innovations right now in our industry on the retail side. So, and we sell all our loans to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, but we do. Anyhow, I think the biggest strength right now is the lack of talent we have to mirror the community. So Latinos are one of the most emerging first-time home buyer demographics in this country, yet we lack in representation in originations. So we actually opened NAF University about 5 years ago. We train about 100 people a month on how to originate loans. And funny thing is, some work in originations, but then some see themselves in marketing. So at New American Funding, number one, we are 58% female employed over men. Why? Because he's a female owner. And number two, we're 43% minority employed in this country, and in this demographic of where I live is not very diverse. So, it's purposeful that when people see me and they find likeness and comfort in who I am as a person, it's very easy for them to engage in employment here. So that's why representation matters in all corporations, and not only just hiring all of us, but giving us the platform to be able to speak like they have with Ola. And organizations need to hear us, right? And we need to be able to talk amongst ourselves about our cultural nuances. So somebody should say about our cultural power within ourselves, so that the communication gets out and the platform, meaning whatever corporation you are, hears us. That's why it's so important.
So, Patty, you mentioned sometimes you have to take 1 to 2 steps back or lateral move in order to rise higher. In your experience, what does it take to move up and taking the next step?
Right. So, like I said, sometimes we fall into doing certain tasks or jobs within an organization or even in my platform, but yet we see our strengths in another department, maybe, so there's where it could be a lateral or a downward move to be able to use your strengths within your organization. Sometimes we just end up having the jobs that we do. But if you see yourself in an upward position in your organization, but you can't have that person's job, you need to find out how to get there. And that is what I mean about taking 2 steps backwards. Maybe you need to take a lower step position in that department in order to rise. So that's where I'm talking about taking the 2 steps backwards. In order to rise, you just need to see yourself in the organization. There's no reason that I stand where I stand today and you can't. Absolutely no reason. I do not have a college education, which most of you probably do. I speak at Harvard now, and I don't even know where it was. I mean, these things become a reality, but I will tell you one thing. I am And we all are, the hardworking thing, right? That is not even something that I second guess myself. I go to work to give 200% every single day still. I am not riding on my success. I don't take it for granted. I'm super humble. I fear, my fear is my driver. Like I'm so scared I'm going to lose my job, or I'm so scared the company's going to get taken out, right? But in my fear, I find my power. And I find that then if I wake up complacent, I come here, shop on the internet, but I don't do that. I come here to make a difference every single day and moving the needle to make sure that we're relevant in this industry. So every single day. So 2 steps sideways, 1 step up. Are you in the right department? Is the company utilizing your strengths? Because I will tell you, when you sit here, and I have 4,200 employees, Freddie Mac's much bigger. The people up here don't see you, right? I don't know all my employees by name anymore. I used to. But I will tell you, I purposely am searching for the next gem, the next one. But I have to ask the managers. So don't expect for us to see you. You need to be heard. That's why I said, in the delivering results, know what the impact is that you are bringing to the company. Know how you did that job or that project, and what you brought to the table. Because we're not asking you, we just pay you to do a job. But if you really want to rise, let us hear you, and don't be shy. I love it when people email me. I love it. And I don't care if they're a receptionist telling them they want to be me one day. I'm like, you go, girl. I love it. Email your president. Who cares? Let them know you're there. Be heard, be seen.
Awesome. That's great advice. And our next question reads, how is your organization working towards having more women and minorities in leadership opportunities?
Oh my gosh. I have 50% of my C-suite are women. So, like I said, it's very natural evolution. Did I go and pick them? Well, sometimes they were my friends, right? So I'm like, hey, I'm going to start this company. Come work for me. Women choosing women, men choose men for no other reason than that's who we feel comfortable with. I much rather speak to a group of Latinx people than a group of non-Latinx people. Like when I speak at the Mortgage Bankers Association, I can't sleep the night before. When I speak to a group like yours, I'm like, they get me. They're going to like me no matter what, right? Because we're united as one. So purposely, and I will tell you, Latinos help Latinos, right? They do. I have clients and consumers that shop here and get their mortgage loans because it's owned by a Latina. We help each other. That's why the power of who we are as a community is untouchable, right? It's only growing. So, that's how I personally feel, but I do purposely go look and engage and pull leaders up. I do. The person who runs my company, she really should be the president. I hired her as an underwriter 11 years ago. She now is arguably runs one of the largest mortgage companies in America, and I chose her. We need to choose people in your leadership roles, or you are a manager, you choose people, because sometimes they don't even know they should be chosen. That's our responsibility. That's our responsibility, and that's my responsibility, is to find the next Patties. Because I certainly don't want to retire with being one of the largest, only woman-owned companies in this country. I'm very alone in our industry, let me tell you. There are very few women running mortgage companies. Very, very few.
You need a little bit of competition, Patty,
I
right?
need some competition, some young competition, it's like a community that we build, but I have to leave this industry with more women running mortgage companies and more just Latinx leadership. Even for the men, I go to Mortgage Bankers Association, there's very few Latinx people, right? It's still, they all look like my husband. So it's just such an important time right now. And there's so much opportunity in this industry, you guys. There's so much with where you sit. Housing is the #1 key to building wealth in our country, especially for Latinos and especially for African Americans, where they were left out of housing. That wealth gap there was due to what had done to them, large part because of housing. So now the impact we can make in those communities is even greater.
Awesome. And our next question reads, you mentioned how proud we should be of our accents. However, my experience is that in order to fit in the corporate world, we almost have to work towards losing that accent. Otherwise, it can be a distraction. Do you have any comments or opinions on this?
Yeah, I think that was the has been. This is today. And I'm telling you that besides the accent, which is the same thing I dealt with early on in being a mortgage person and dealing with higher level people. When I had to meet with Freddie Mac when I was 30, I thought I had to put like a man's suit on, right? I had to look like a man to be seen as powerful. It's the same things going on with our accents, the same things going on with this color of our skin. We're going through something right now with reference to being marginalized as a culture, the same as what different, but the same thing about being held back because of who we are. This is the time to let that go. I'm telling you, I am with the biggest organizations in the country. I sit on every board, Fannie, Freddie, HUD, CFPB. I sit on the National Park Foundation, where I actually was chosen because I was Latina. I'm like, I don't even go to parks, right? But they wanted the representation on the board. You see, there's opportunities that we have today that we never have. And yes, wear it proudly, because organizations see our value. And if you get chosen because you are Latina or you're Latino, just wear it as a badge of honor, because that's our culture and the strengths that these companies need to move forward in this country. So no, wear it proudly. And if someone says, wait, can you say that again? Don't take that as an insult, right? I'm sorry, I don't understand you. Oh, okay. Like my mom still talks that way. I can talk with an accent too. Just repeat it. Don't take that as, oh, like an insult. No, no, no. Just repeat it. At least you speak English and Spanish. Most people don't even speak one language, right? Be proud. Be proud.
Look at Sofia Vergara, right?
Right?
So
She gets, look all the money she got paid for that accent.
that's right.
Oh, let's go, girls. Let's go, guys. This is our time right now. Yeah, one of the highest paid actresses in this country has what? An accent. Even my mom said she was tired of her accent. Right? Show?
I totally agree with you, Patty. There is nothing wrong with having our accents. It's actually kind of like sexy sometimes. Oh, so
Very.
Berenice, please.
And along that same along the same lines, someone asked, when you are being doubted, what advice would you give to someone to prove them wrong?
Prove them wrong. Take that opportunity as an opportunity. I love to be challenged. I love to be marginalized. I love to be held back, because that gives me an opportunity to shine, right? That's your opportunity to prove. They're almost asking you. If someone's doubting you, that's permission to prove. That's permission to speak up. So don't see it as as a bad thing, because and one thing is, my view or one person's view of you or what you're doing means nothing, right? So look at it as an opportunity. We always tend to look at things that are trying to keep us down. That's something to give to utilize your voice. So a lot of people ask me that. Well, how do you feel with being a woman and they held you back? I'm like, oh, bring it on. It's fun. That's where I get to break the ceilings and the glass, right? Crash. I'm here. I am who I am. I speak okay English. I don't even have a big vocabulary, and I'm okay. I'm okay. So it's okay. Rick always says, you didn't say that word right. I'm like, okay, whatever. I said it. You guys know what I mean, right? Okay. I still feel the same way you guys still feel. I get doubted all the time. And I will tell you, even just a month ago, we had this big wig come, oh, they want to interview, and he took another job and he told everybody, oh, it's because they're a mom and pop shop. Mom and pop shop, right? Let me tell you why he called us a mom and pop shop, because I will hug and kiss everyone in the company, not kissing nobody because of COVID right now. But he saw me as the mom and pop shop. If I were a male and Rick walked in with his male counterpart, I would have been seen as a powerful company. I still too get doubted. But I had to giggle. I'm like, oh, now I realize why I called us a mom and pop shop, because of me. Okay, though. There's a lid for every pot, right? There's a lid for every pot. My working here in my company is not for everyone. So I don't take that as critical. I take that as knowing.
Right. Awesome. And we have two more questions. One of them is, can you tell us what the best piece of advice, what is the best piece of advice you've gotten in your professional career?
Well, I think I've mentioned it 100 times, is to not be silenced. So I just was appointed, and the Mortgage Bankers Association appointed me to the Residential Board of Governors. And one of the words they said when they called, they said, you were nominated because everyone knows you speak up. So I think that letting everyone know that I am not complacent and that I have value to what I've learned through 39 years of being in this industry is really important. So speaking up, Sheryl Sandberg wrote a big book for all us girls out there. It's called Lean In, right? Leaning into our power, leaning into our strengths. And part of that is speaking up. And then, when I do speak up, sometimes I'm, bossy, pushy, spicy. So I actually I have a t-shirt that I created that says, I'm passionate, not pushy. My passion comes out in my voice. Can you hear it? And everyone's like, you're yelling at people. Like, I'm not yelling at people. I'm passionate. You see, everything is a story for us to learn about how people see us. But then that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Awesome.
So,
And,
Patty, I don't think we have any more questions, or we have only one, Berenice?
yeah, so the last question. Someone asked, what is the best way to get in contact with you?
Oh, easy. I love social media. So Patty Arvielo, just my name. And you guys have it because you've seen it on the Hola thing, right? So on Instagram, I engage a lot on Instagram. I engage a lot on LinkedIn. So if you send me messages, I do read them. I see them. Also on, we have a really good platform called We All Grow. It's mainly for Latinas, super powerful. Eva Longoria was on last week speaking with Ana Flores, the partner. There's a lot of good communication with Latitude, which is a big event that is going on this weekend, actually, all referencing the power of Latinos to this country. So you can look it up. It's Latitude event, and it's this weekend. And the most powerful CEOs of every organization speaking about the power we bring to their corporations. The CEO of Uber, Home Depot, all the bigwigs speaking about us, right? And our power. So if you don't know your power, you can maybe check on a Latitude, and then you get the strengths and the verbiage that you need to let everyone know who we are and our power in our organization.
Awesome. And
Thank
with
you,
that, I'll pass it
Berenice.
on to Carolina.
Thank you, Berenice. Thank you so much, Patty. This was just amazing. We just don't want to let you go, but everything comes to an end. So I am going to turn it to Mario, who's going to give some closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Patty, thank you very much again on behalf of the Hola, Freddie Mac Hola group and the Hola family. Thank you very much for your participation in our event. And secondly, thank you, Carolina, Berenice, Elijah, for putting all this together and coordinating it. Well job done. It was very inspirational, Patty, and thank you for tying in our mindsets with your story. I took a lot of notes myself, and I have a lot to reflect on, especially around our mindsets, more specifically about having that determination, the skill set, and the knowledge, and making it happen, and taking advantage of our biggest strength, which is being a Latino and our unique beliefs and culture. So thank you for your message. Just as a reminder to the group, there are yoga classes being done on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. and on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Heart disease is one of the biggest causes of death for Hispanics. And, these classes at least will get us motivated. So let's get physical and stay as healthy as possible, especially during these times. So on behalf of Kristen and myself, thank you, Patty, and thank you for the group for being part of this event.